Well, hello and welcome. We are here for week 4 of season 1 of 21-22 WTRL's Zwift Racing League. I'm Kate Bates, joined by Anna Russell. My small human is making a little cameo here. So we're family friendly here. Anna,
We
we're
are.
heading out for a pretty big week. We've got 47 kilometres around Cass Pat. I think I called it ostensibly flat last week. It's not really flat. It's gonna be a pretty tough day.
Oh, it sure is. And I know that both of us we were fueling up. I had cookies and you were eating something before the start. So I'm not sure how the riders are going to feel, but I know we're in for a bit of a long race tonight. And this is the course we're about to see. It's very full on with the fastest time segments and first across lines. We've got the Pave sprints, the Aqueduct climb, the Petite climb, the Marina sprint, which is just 700 meters after the start. So it is full gas for these riders. And I'm not sure what kind of tactics we have, whether it'll be a race of attrition or people are really going to try and go for these points in a strategic way. But it's going to be exciting, I think. I saw the Prem race earlier today, and yeah, there's a lot of places that you can attack the bunch and try and get away.
I think you'd be pretty brave to go for a sprint and then keep going early on in the race. We can see the Petite KOM looks pretty nasty on the profile. I have to say, having ridden it, Anna, it's not necessarily that bad if the pace isn't on. So it is, plausible that perhaps the bunch will come together until the final couple of 100 meters there, and then they'll. Now, there was a sprint early on at 700 meters, but the next one is not until the 11K mark. So probably not surprising that they're just all compact as a group here in that in-between section. Still super early in the race, Anna.
Yeah, I think we'll see a replay of the sprint. This is the one, the Marina sprint, right at the beginning. We can see this is straight out of the pen. 700 meters later, they're hitting this. Schneider here from Rave, huge Watts, but she's going to get rolled over by Emily Watts, their great last name that you've talked about a bit, Katie. She is a legit junior rider coming out of Australia. It looks like she will take that out. There's a last push there from Schneider, but I think Emily will have that. That's Rave, second, third, though, with Davidson coming in there in third on that Aquatron. And Aero took that out, but man, it has got to be brutal. I know I'm de-essing for a team tomorrow, and I said you've got to be ready to basically ride full noise, full maximum effort from the start all the way to that first sprint. I mean, brutal. But what I think we'll end up seeing is a real relaxed pace from that group all the way to the next sprint, which will be the Pave sprint, which is actually just first across line points, no fastest time segment for that one tonight. And Aero already ahead of the game, but only by 3 points ahead of Rave all night. So great job there from Rave. That's the standings as we're sitting. So Aero 3 points ahead over the last 3 races of Rave, and then they are 3 points ahead, quite close really, from the Aero Flyers. So a little Rave sandwich there between the Aeros.
A rave sandwich. That sounds like a lot of fun. We'll jump in with the men. They are just starting, so they do have that sprint early on as well, 700 meters in. So no surprise. Look at them. They would have had to be pretty well warmed up, Anna, because 300 meters in from the start gun, and they are absolutely chasing this first sprint. He might get this. This
Yeah.
will be a little bit of damage to his legs for the rest of the course. but can he hold on? Because Luis
I
is
think
looking
so.
good. Can I name that second guy? He's under badass fuel, which, I mean, good on him for Rays. But
Wow,
Luis
and
is
this
going to
man
take this
bun from
out.
Louis. Wow, I'm
Man
loving this,
bun.
Lewis. He's got the
Oh,
man bun, and it's coming in the second there from Endo from ZWC. Not sure who came in third. I'm gonna have to see a replay, but that is a strategy that looks like it could work. Luis there going straight from the gun, getting a huge gap. I think he sprinted out of the pens to get that gap, and then was able to hold orange numbers all the way to the end. Wow, that was intense. We can see there from messages already coming through. Wow, this is pretty full. I was already look at that, how strung out that is. We're only less than just over a K in, and that is absolutely brutal.
and worth talking about the different power ups available tonight because we just saw a fair few burritos being dropped. There's not a burrito every week.
No, the power ups are a good mix tonight. There's the burrito, so the breakaway burrito, the anvil, which I think there's only one place that will really make a difference to drop that. That will be after the petite KOM. And then we also have the drafting power up. That'll be good for the sprint. So, especially for the fastest time segments, that is only that Marina sprint that we just went through, and then the Pave one only first across line. So, burrito could be good for that one to just drop any riders who are sitting on your wheel. Looks like Cridland there might be trying for a little bit of an attack off the front, I think. We're just following white there from Aero, but I saw some orange numbers right near the top. These guys are pushing hard for the fact that they've just gone through that sprint. There's no need. They could just relax into this pace a little bit as we approach the next sprint. But wow, there are WMZ rider there, Chubb, going full noise.
Well, we've got actually I mean, it's happened every week so far, and it's pretty impressive. Some really big names from the Aussie domestic scene who are lining up to race this, which is fantastic. Cridland is a pretty famous name in Sydney cycling circles. So his mother was actually running one of the local clubs in Sydney for a very long time, and she was riding herself. So it's quite cool to see kind of the generations pop up. But this kind of course, as we saw in that first sprint, and we've talked about in previous weeks, Anna, it's a lot about strategy. It's definitely not just about who's the strongest on the day, because when you're trying to win the most points, of course, there's a lot of opportunities on this. Let's just take a bit of a look at the replay, Anna, and get another feel for what happened in that first sprint because Luis, he won quite comfortably here. He would have burnt a lot of matches in doing it. Ray's coming through in second almost, but he got pushed kind of off that podium at the end by Endo and Tim Cutler. I'd say
Whoa.
Tim Cutler's the only one that we've really
Oof.
seen quite prominent in the early days. Tobin Madsen, he was sitting there in fourth. So some of the big names that are up there, but I would almost say that Luis caught them by surprise there. So tactically very well executed.
That was very impressive. Now, one rider we didn't see in that sprint was Mark Bosted. Now, if you recall last week, Kate, I was giving him a bit of grief about he was a
I
triathlete
do
and
recall.
had worked on his
Yes.
sprinting game. Got a few messages from him actually to say that firstly, he is no longer a professional triathlete. He is a retired triathlete and he is full on going for this Zwift racing and has been working on a sprint. So happy to see all the work over the winter paying off. I'm getting the producer in the air saying he's hitting the weight rooms. Apparently, triathletes are averse to any form of weight training. I'd agree to that for myself. I
Oh.
hate going to the gym. So he is probably doing some, I don't even know what kind of exercises you do. Squats, maybe? I don't know. Push some tin around.
I I I love that he really pointed out that he was a retired triathlete, as if to validate exactly what you were saying in that triathletes can't sprint. I think that's
Yeah.
quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there got to be a couple of triathletes out there who've got a good sprint on them, but perhaps
No, there's
Boasted
none.
has had to step away from the running and swimming in order to
Yeah,
hone that.
exactly.
I
I
mean,
do just actually
if
want to
you're
touch on
running
bike.
and swimming and riding, you don't have time for weights and Pilates and yoga and all that, surely.
Oh, who has time for any of that stuff? I don't know. Um, But just looking at, I do want to touch on bike choice as I kind of look at this plethora of Trons looking kind of like a Christmas tree. Now, everyone who watches my commentary knows it's not my favorite bike choice, but I have to admit that for this race, it is the best bike choice on the day, in my opinion. I think if you're running the disc wheel, it's just too much of a disadvantage on the petite KOM. And also, because you could have the anvil at the top, the sort of heaviness of it doesn't really matter on the downhill because you could just drop an anvil and that'll make up for it. So, yes, I do think Tron is the best bike choice here. So, I'm not surprised to see a whole lot of them out in the game. And it does look kind of nice. It looks a bit sort of festive, don't you think?
I do. I mean, all the Christmas stuff is already in the shops here in Australia. So why not head toward? I feel like our life is actually, you're either heading toward Halloween, Christmas, or Easter, and the Australian shops are confused about Halloween and Christmas at the moment. But yeah, look at
Yeah.
this commentary that keeps popping up. I feel like there's some slightly cranky pants athletes out there tonight. We seem to have a lot of those being pulled on before the race start. But I did notice all the trons, Anna, and I was waiting for you to comment. I thought I don't even need to because you'll jump in with something about the tron bike. And I hope our producers caught you saying that it is the best one for this course because I'm not sure you've actually ever verbalized that before.
I know. Am I getting some messages coming through the socials too? Des Carter is saying, "Oh my God, Anna, I can't believe you're recommending the Tron." I know. I feel like it's going against everything I say. It's like me saying you should wear the visor or polka dot gloves. You know,
Oh, no,
it
no,
has
no.
been hard for me to
Don't go doing
say.
that.
But I did do actually quite a lot of study on it, and yes, I think the Tron is the best course. And look at this. Okay, we're seeing people responding to you. The riders are cranky. Rusty Devlin there saying, "Yes, I'm a bit cranky." And again, the comments coming through that I'm seeing on YouTube is, "Why are they still pushing so hard?" And I've got to agree. Why are they pushing up over 4 watts a kg during this kind of 10-kilometer rest period after that first sprint? I think they just need to maybe relax a bit, and the crankiness could go away.
Mm. It is a good question. We're going to duck over to the women for a second. They're about to cruise through the sunflowers. Such an iconic French scene, isn't it? Um, but it is a very curious question. And we reflect then back to the women's race. They are also doing the same. They're pushing pretty hard here with still 37K left to race. They're clearly wanting to really just break it up and go for gold without the complication and then pick up all those points along the way.
Yeah, this is, as we head along here, this is a part that I'm quite interested to see tactically because the next sprint is only first across the line points. It is the pave sprint. And being only first across the line, there's no sort of benefit in sitting back and using the drafting power up to come through the pack. And that opens it up, in my opinion, to people having a breakaway early or having a rider on their team who's better at those sort of 20-minute efforts, just upping the pace to stop any attacks around them. As we see a aero rider there dropping the anvil, do not drop an anvil anywhere other than a downhill, people. If you are watching this, do not drop on the flat
Uh-huh.
and do not drop on a climb.
Well, that's an interesting one because kind of the counter to the anvil is the feather, but the feather can actually be really useful in a whole different variety of scenarios. You don't just have to be going uphill for that one to be helpful because, of course, it can really help with acceleration if you time a sprint well. I've had a bit of a play with that. And it works quite well. The anvil, on the other hand, um, we did have used to have a cycling coach, Anna, who used to put rocks in our pockets and
Oh,
say, you
what?
know, if you want to race at this weight, then this is what it's going to feel like. So there you go. That
Wow.
is what dropping the anvil is like. Yeah, top
Oh,
bloke that guy.
wow. Okay, well there we go. Well, I'd had I've been having some Zwift races with my dad at the moment. I race him every Sunday lunchtime at the moment as I come back into fitness.
Stop it.
And he's
That's
saying
fantastic.
it was very unfair that he weighs 20 kg more than me. So I'd said to him, I'll do the next race at 90 kg. and see how we go. So I'll feel a little bit like
Oh,
there's rocks in my pockets there as I try and push 90 kg up some significant climbs. But yeah, we've been racing every week, and I'm trying to get him onto a race team, but he's a little bit hesitant. But I have seen, and I messaged you earlier in the week, Katie, was Sarah Gigante's dad has now officially changed his Zwift name to Papa Gigante, as that's what you refer to him as.
I must have missed that, but that is sensational. All right, we've got a sprint coming up. We've hit the pave here. Emily Watts is at it again, but Sarah Schneider has kicked off. Watts just sitting in a wheel. Watts is a very smart sprinter.
She's going to go buy
She
her.
tends not to
Oh,
waste
whoa.
too much
Who's
energy.
that? Player. Look
Whoa!
at that.
Brie Playle has
12.5.
rocketed over the top.
Oh,
Em Watts actually backed off. She just went back to 5 for a second there. Got rolled by Dana Davidson, it looks like, in the end. That'll teach me to say
wow.
that to give any commentary really on the sprint tactics. But
Let's
that
have a look
was
at the
that,
replay. Yeah, when we can. That
yes.
was Playle. Is it Brie Playle? That if we're looking here, she dropped that drafting power up sort of mid-pack. As you see, Schneider going off at 8.2. Then suddenly 14 watts a kg. Who is this girl? That is absolutely unreal for female numbers. Backs off to just 12. 13. Look at that position on the bike. That is insane. Coming through. Wow. That is very, very impressive. And she has absolutely
That
gapped the
is
field. Emily Watts here, who's no slouch, is totally spaced there. And she gets rolled, I think, by Davidson from Rave. Wow. Player, I'm going to go look at some of her numbers.
well, are they on the same team? Because if they are, that was quite brilliant work from them. But actually, it looked like Playle used not only the power up, but also the draft of the bunch to accelerate through. Um, because she didn't actually hit that peak for too long, but it was so effective, so incredibly effective on that move. I do think that they do have to start getting creative to roll Emily Watts because she came out early, in this season with some huge numbers. Her 15-second watt average is absolutely through the roof, Emily Watts. It's around 12 and a half watts per kg for 15 seconds. So we
Wow.
know that if you put her, if she's in the position to be able to get that speed, it is very hard to beat her. But that was
We have actually
incredibly impressive sprint from Playle.
We had actually seen Susanna D from Team Rave unfortunately drop off the back there. I was just seeing a little red dot kind of jettisoned from the back of that pack. So, yeah, it looks like Susanna D, unfortunately, in a long race like tonight, is now on her own, which is not fun. As we're hitting now the Aqueduct QOM, although I'd like to say it's almost a sprint because it's so short and it doesn't get up to huge gradients. But E. Smith here from Aero coming through with Nash from Rave is coming here to party. They are going over the top and they're serious about getting these points. They've got a rider in first at the moment. We've got Rassel there coming through over into third, but it looks as though Banerjee is just going to roll over with some 8 watts a kg to take that out. Again, it's only first across the line on that one. So she will take that. Nash looked like she was second, and Vassal then fourth. As we head over to the men's race to see how their sprint through the pave section, I do believe, is going to look, and if they're still cranky, Kate.
Yeah. Once cranky, I don't think you can do much about that for the evening, although you could ride out of it. So this is a big acceleration from Costa. Massive. Amato in second, Endo in third. Endo has just dropped off. Braden Clues-Proctor is moving up. It'll be Rays, Clues-Proctor in second, Costa in third. This isn't a very consistent group of point scorers, which I find quite interesting. And if it's anything like the women, Anna, we've seen different riders win each points. It is a very strategic kind of day. You cannot hit every point along the way because it's too long and it's too fatiguing.
Yeah, and just looking at that little mini map in the top right as well, looks like as happened in the women's race, a rider has been dropped off the back. So not sure who that is, but again, a very lonely race that they'll have coming up for the next around 46 kilometers. So, unfortunate for those races. You've really got to be on your game, even if you're not sprinting for the sprint points. It looks like it's Lewis. Oh, whoa. Oh, that's not good. He's down to 1.6. Maybe his whole job was to just get those first points. So that is probably not the best strategy if you want to keep racing. He has slowed to an absolute standstill. He still has to keep racing though, because he's got to cross the line, I would imagine, to keep his points. So,
Mm.
oh, unfortunate there. But back to the main pack. That's some interesting tactics. I'd have to say maybe don't go full noise from the beginning. You'll hurt later. But looks like they will almost be coming up to this Aqueduct KOM now. It's just kicking up to 5%. We'll see if we've got anyone sort of playing the role of pushing the pace up. Looks like Team Aero is really gathering at the front. And I think this could be dangerous with, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Aero riders all in that top sort of 10 of the race. Interesting tactics there from Aero.
Well, Aero have been, I mean, dare I say, dominant over the last couple of weeks. They've had some serious challenges, but they've prevailed on quite a lot of occasions. I do agree this is more of a sprint than a KOM.
Oh, whoa.
Um,
Cridland.
and Cridland, he's on the move. He's not getting a big gap, but he is stringing it out because he's got a hot contender right on his wheel from INC Alien Battlers. So he will get these points. It looks like it's not far to the line now. So he's getting some encouragement too, which is quite cool. So Ruth
And that
from
was
NZ Bro has come through and are in second.
yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about Ben Ruth. He's actually someone I used to run with, or I used to run with my brother way back. So I've known him for about 20 years. And he was an extremely fast, he'll probably correct me because I may get this wrong, but I think 800-meter runner. And it goes with the thoughts I have that runners, especially track runners, can make the best Zwifters because they're ready to just get into that hurt locker for that period of sort of 1 to 3 minutes. And Ben Ruth would definitely be one of those riders. Interesting to see here, a lot of the anvil's been dropped. So they're in a bit of a downhill here. They're all probably, see, this is perhaps where I think, I'm not sure about these tactics because they're all essentially ditching the anvil. They're putting them on this downhill, they're pulling away. If I'd got an anvil over that last KOM, I would save it for the downhill after the petite KOM, which is coming up. Reason being, the anvil is actually best used to catch the pack. If you've been dropped, it's not so great for an attack on a downhill. It's really good for catching the pack. And so if you drop on the next climb, if you just can't keep up with the main contenders, Aero will be the anvil will be perfect to use on that downhill to catch up.
Well, that's interesting because I reckon over the top of a sprint like that, if I had an anvil in my back pocket, I would sit pretty until everybody started, until I observed everybody backing off those watts. And then I would drop it and I would hit them there when they were least expecting it because that could be quite impactful. Now, the women are on the KOM, which we could see on the profile earlier. Looks pretty nasty. We can agree about that. 2.5 odd kilometres at around 4%, but it does have a lot of steeper gradients. And if you also take a look at the top right-hand corner of our screen, we can see that there are some hairpins. Delightfully, that doesn't make too much trouble in game, but it looks quite scenic, but it does indicate that there are some harder pinches definitely on the climb. The women appear, you can see from their powers that they are pushing it, they are accelerating, but nobody really wanting to take responsibility just yet. Justine Barrow is the one that we always look at when it comes to this kind of climb. So let's see what happens here.
I am. Oh, those points are interesting. Emily Watts, this will be the same as what we saw last week, massively ahead on the points. 38 there with Davidson, though. I like that. Davidson and Schneider from Team Rave. Like I said, they're coming here to party tonight. They're on 33 and 25 ahead of Banerjee, Barrow, and then Vassal. Oh, this is good. And sixth, and then a few more Aero riders. So this is a big battle between Aero and Rave tonight. I'm loving seeing this as we've seen them sort of hit
Mm.
this 5%. They're coming into these switchbacks now. This is where it gets really hard. We're already seeing from that angle a couple of riders dropping off the back, just so hard. But you'll hope that they'll have some anvils in their back pocket that they can use on the downhill. Although coming into chat, I do have old mate Jimmy Barnes on there who's saying that
Love Jimmy Barnes.
actually he would delete the anvil and then hope for a draft at the top of this KOM and then use it in the following sprint. I guess it depends on your strengths because if you're not a
It
great
does.
sprinter and that's not your role in the team, is I would keep an anvil to just catch up. See, in this case, if you're Schneider, even though she has a great sprint, it means nothing if she's not there with that front pack. So that's, I guess, where we'll agree to disagree there, James. I think still the anvil on this downhill because exact point here. Schneider, who cares about the draft if she can't sprint anyone because she's been dropped off? And Butterworth, what do you think about this? She's dropping off too.
Busy Butterworth. We know her from many seasons past. Very consistent rider. A bit unusual, I would say, for her strengths, and a little bit lower watts per kg as well. It looks like she's just not having the best of days, which always kind of sucks, let's be honest, when you're out there and you're like, this isn't my kind. What's not a surprise at the front is Justine Barrow absolutely smashing it. I cannot rave about her enough in terms of her climbing ability. IRL, she's got incredible um, watts per kg because she's a lighter climbing frame for sure. And she has an incredible spirit about her, I think, is probably the more impressive part, Anna. She doesn't give up very easily. But yeah, that interesting drop of the burrito there against her teammates. What do we think about that one?
Well, I actually don't know if they're teammates because there's two Aero teams out here, so they could be different Aero teams. No love lost, it looks like. But I have seen that happen. I saw that happen in the playoffs last season. Someone dropped a burrito right in front of their teammates on the Richmond course, and I messaged them later about it to ask why they did that, and it was a sweat drop. So you know, if you're sweating so much and the sweat drops right on your phone on Companion app, and unfortunately, it just drops the power up unintentionally. So that's probably what happened there. I just want to talk about a little bit of chat here too. We're getting from Daz Carter. He's saying, could you drop the anvil just before the banner of the KOM arch to get the anvil for the downhill and then pick up another one? That's what we call a double power up. Power up. I don't think it's the best use here because, as you'll see, straight after the KOM arch, it kicks up to 10% and then goes downhill. So if you drop to the anvil, you're going to hit an extra weight up that 10%, and I think it would just absolutely kill your pace. So, yeah, good thinking. The only time I've seen that double power up been used well is on the Champs Elysees course. So you can actually triple power up that one, but yeah, not sure it would work on this one.
Hold on, I'm going to dispute that because a rider like me, I was heavier than most, but had also then packed a lot of punch. So if you can drop the power up, that anvil, over the top just before the KOM, and you get that speed and momentum, and you utilize the high power with that speed, it actually almost negates the extra weight going up that 10% part, I would think, based on
I feel
the
like I need
tactics
my
I
whiteboard
used to
here.
use, but I think you need your whiteboard too. But I'm kind of with Daz. Like that makes a bit of sense to me, even with the 10%, um, because you often see the heavier riders that they do have just more overall watts, not per kg, but overall watts, and you do sometimes see them going really well up the shorter, sharper climbs because just that pure grunt really helps them. So it could be something to try out.
Yeah, I wouldn't try it myself, but someone else could. But looking at this race now, wow, this is a massive gap that Banerjee, Griffiths, and Barrow now have. So all from Team Aero, and they're dropping those anvils, so they may end up staying away. That's a huge gap, 15 seconds already. But we will head over to the men's race. They are probably also approaching this climb, if not already on it. Yes, and they're already on it. They're hitting those switchbacks, and it looks like O'Brien. He is a climber. What a mountain goat. That is a 3-second gap already on Hoare and Gallagher. And Ross there from Aero. Wow, that is quite the move that he has made.
Look, I won't say that Aero's tactics are predictable, but Mark O'Brien, you can almost predict with 100% accuracy that he will give it a massive crack at some point. He's been this season, that has really been his hallmark move. The question is more, can you go with him and should you go with him? Or will it burn too many matches for those sprints that you are going for? Now, he's got two breakaway companions in Ross and Hoare, which is different to some of his previous efforts where he was on his own and didn't have any support in that breakaway. That is a very big difference in circumstance. But he's definitely got the horsepower. So if they can come together, then this could turn into quite a dangerous move for the bunch. Mick Gallagher is a Paralympic and para world champion and world record holder, so he has certainly got the goods as well, especially in any kind of shooting and time trialing capacity. So I don't know, if I was the bunch, Anna, I'd be keeping my eye on this one.
Yeah, this is quite broken up, I've got to say. It's not sort of how I saw the men's race coming over the top of that climb. I thought maybe they'd be a little bit more together, or kind of they've got 1, 2, sort of 3 strung out, and then everyone's sort of a little bit tight. I'm just looking at this with a lot of interest to see whether that's a big enough pack with a lot of momentum to actually catch up to O'Brien here. It's 10 seconds. There's a lot of racing to go, though. They're just about to finish lap number 1 of the 2-lap course for these ACAT riders. But what O'Brien could do here is if he stays ahead, 8 seconds, he's riding 6.2 watts a kg. If he can just stay ahead till they get to the flats, he could go for the first across line across the next segment, which comes up very quick, the Marina Sprint. This pack is moving very, very quickly, those 68 kilometers an hour, 69 here, 71.
Oof.
Aaron Bleakley going 71. That is unreal. They are super tucking like crazy, but 6 seconds still. He could take this through to the next little sprint points.
Well, look, you can't super tuck in the world tour, so you may as well do it in the Zwift world, right? I think this is about to be all over Red Rover, though, because they're only a couple of seconds behind now. And I think over in the women, let's take a look. But from the sounds, they are catching as well. So, oh, this is not too far. Banerjee, Barrow, and Miranda Griffiths. They are certainly Barrow and Griffiths are two very well-known names on the Australian domestic racing scene. So I just love, actually, Anna, all these transitions through their racing careers. We get a real mash of people just finding the sport and having huge engines, and kind of some of the riders who've been racing domestically for quite a while and maybe gone through a few different life cycles with having kids and whatnot. And they come back up here. Now, Watts is marching up in the orange. She is moving up, as is Clara Nash. They're the two fastest from the previous weeks. They're going to be a bit too late to go through
Yeah.
the banner, but, they've still got a few watts in their legs, pardon the pun.
That was a bit of a rollover, I've got to say. They that chase pack just left it a little bit too late. I'll be interested to know if in the men's race Mark O'Brien has managed to stay away, because just as we left the men's race screen, he did push up to 7 watts a kg, but looks like he has been caught. So I always am voting for the breakaway, the one who makes it interesting. But unfortunately, that chase pack was just too big. There were too many anvils being dropped, and they managed to stay away. Jimmy Barnes is chiming in to say, Kate, that he likes where your thought train is going with the anvil and the heavier riders punching over the climb. He thinks you're on the right track there, but now he said he's got to go have his dinner, so he's no longer going to be chiming in with our chit chat. But
Is he trying to get on the heavier rider train?
Dinner.
He's just having a dessert. He's like, a few extra kgs could help me there.
Yeah, exactly. We are coming in to this Marina Sprint here. We just crossed over. It looks like they're a little bit tired. We do have a rider coming through mid-pack. Who's that? Is that Ross? Whoa, that is a massive turn of speed. He has smashed through that with a skateboarding helmet, no less. Torben in second, and it looks like Euro Cycling Trips, whoever that is, looks like they came in third. But wow, what a little kick there from M. Ross. Went into that awesome little sprint pose, as I call it, head down, almost chomping on the handlebars.
Sprint pose.
That was
I like
amazing.
to call it the Caleb Ewan because it does look like they've
Yeah.
emulated when the statured Caleb Ewan hunches over his bike and gets really down and dirty with it. I was going to say that probably comes out a little bit wrong, to be honest. But anyway, moving on. Ross, he's just significantly higher in power. Torben Partridge Madsen, he peaked up a bit there, but it was for like a second. He went into the 14s and then backed off a little bit and ended up getting second, which is actually pretty smartly ridden by him because he wasn't going to bridge that gap. So that's a very good use of his power.
It's I was just trying to get a little glimpse of what bike he was using as well, M. Ross. It was kind of a yellow, it wasn't this Cervelo S5, it's just that yellow one there. It's I don't wouldn't say that's the most aero bike or the best climbing bike. So the Trek, a Trek bike, interesting choice. Maybe he just picked a yellow one because it looked good with the kit. But yeah, that's and just the sort of zip aero wheels, it looks like. Yeah, not quite sure on the choices there. Have to
Mm.
see if anyone can chime in as to why he would have used that one. Maybe he just doesn't have the Tron
Mm.
or enough drops or anything else. But yeah, it's an interesting choice. I haven't seen that bike out in game for a while. So, and he took a sprint. Always kind of intrigued by what the fastest people are riding.
I'm always intrigued too, and I think we've had this discussion many times about bikes and styles of riders. If we take a quick look at what's happening with the segment points so far, M. Ross, which just reminds me of Suits, if anybody's a Suits fan, Matthew Ross. It reminds me of that. But he's got, I know I'm random tonight, I apologise for that. 41 points, Mark O'Brien back on 30, Crofts on 26. This is quite a decent gap forming there for the Aero lads. Bowstead, look, he's got a few points, Anna, so he is working on his sprinting. Maybe not as
Yeah.
dominant or prominent as he was last week, but he's still certainly up there in the mix. But it's those Aero jerseys, 4 in the top 5, that I think some of the other teams need to take note of.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm just trying to see on Zwift Power where the rest of their NZ Bro team went. It just looks like Mark Bostead has made that front group because they had Ben Ruth up there, who was a very decent rider, as well as John Story I saw out there on the start list. But yeah, unfortunately, it looks like they've dropped off the pace. Just trying to get the latest update from Zwift Power, but Aero, I believe, look to be taking this one out tonight, unless something goes horribly wrong for them. But having 1, 2, 3, 4 riders on the top 5, oof, that's going to be tricky to take over. I even think Crofts there potentially could be one of the riders from Aero too. But Costa here, NZ Bro, Frodo, he's I don't know if he's going to catch back onto them. 6 watts a kg to get back on. A Brazilian there racing for a New Zealand team. It's probably a good story behind that. There is no way he is getting back onto that pack. I've got to say, no
That
way.
that is a tough one. That is a tough one. Although, interestingly, on a ride we were doing this morning, albeit fairly moderately paced, um, we closed a gap of about 9 seconds very, very quickly with a little bit of effort. But the massive difference there is that there was nothing attacking over the front. Mick Gallagher has stuck the boot in. He's gone off the front. Matt Ross in hot pursuit. This will kind of ensure that the bunch is not sitting up and waiting at all, and that will make it very difficult to rejoin from the back, which is kind of unfortunate timing. I always wonder about any, like power outs or technical problems when this happens. But for Costa, the technical problem may be in his legs. He is getting a bit closer, though. He's cut in a few seconds. If he can get down to 4 seconds, I reckon he might be able to sneak back on. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a
It's
tough position to
oh,
be in at this point.
and who's pushing off the front? That looks like another NZ Bro rider, Aaron Bleakley. He's not making it very
That's
easy on
kinda
his
awkward.
teammate there. That's that's real awkward. But I think they're actually from different teams. We've got Bleakley there from NZ Bro Gandalf, and it looked as though the Brazilian New Zealand rider was from Frodo, I want to say. If I know my Lord of the Rings, which is every good Kiwi does know their Lord of the Rings characters. But we're seeing Gallagher. This is Gallagher and Ross really attacking off the front. This is good to see. This is a little nice 1-2 punch. And I did get some inside word from Tully Leister, the team manager from Aero, that that yellow bike is was chosen because he actually is quite new to Zwift and doesn't have enough drops or levels or elevation to get the Tron or any other faster bike. So very impressive he could win that sprint before on what was quite a low level setup.
Yeah, see, that always fascinates me because I reckon they're the most dangerous ones. I get the whole bike selection, and I'm just going to throw a blah 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 in there because it's not bikes that win races, it's people that win races, and we keep getting like. Do you remember Margot, our M Dot from last season, Anna?
Oh, yeah.
Because M Dot,
Hmm.
she had always had pretty average bike choice because she didn't have access to all of them. Did not matter at all. Like, I think it does matter if it comes down to a 1-2 sprint kind of scenario. But other than that, I think engine over bike every time. And we do have a lot of very big engines, especially trained athletes from other sports, come in and be quite dominant.
Yeah.
And
You know what
Gallagher
I think
and
I'll
Ross are kind of riding away at the moment, aren't they? Look at this gap opening up.
This is amazing. I do want to throw on there too. I think bike selection can be a bit psychological as well. If you're really attached to your Tron or you're really attached to your disc wheel and you think it makes you faster, you probably wouldn't go for another bike just because of the superstition of being on that slower or perceived slower bike. You go, oh, the reason I couldn't
Mm.
push those watts was because I was on a slower bike. So I think a lot of it is psychology as well. If people could tear themselves away from that, though, occasionally and just mix it up with something other than the Tron, that'd be great. Apart from on this course, where I do think it is the faster bike, there is a bit of a chat coming into YouTube as to what bike selection people should ride over the coming races. And yeah, a lot of people are saying, yeah, get on the Tron bike. It is probably the best. And also, actually, I've just noticed Kate Sumner's thrown in there. They love suits. So even though you thought it was a bit random talking about suits, we've got someone who is a vote for that. They like watching suits as well.
Excellent. Well, I mean, I think that bike races, even esports bike races, give you a whole lot of time to talk about things outside of perhaps every single pedal stroke that the riders are taking. It's interesting, like what you say about the Tron bike, and I think you're right on the psychology of it. But for you, I feel like if I ever dropped a Tron bike in your garage, you would hate every second of the ride. You'd be cursing along the way. But you might have missed the occasion where I admitted to Nathan that I'd done more than the required climbing, but I'd forgotten to sign up for it. So I
Oh,
don't
no.
actually have the Tron bike, and now it's become a thing. Now I kind of refuse to even hit that button anymore.
Oh, no. Oh, you're one of those. Um,
Yeah, I'm one of those.
but I mean, looking at what these guys are doing, to not put it too fine a word or not, what's the point? Like they're 8 seconds ahead. They're probably, I mean, they're getting hung out to dry a little bit. They're right in the sights of everyone. I'm not sure why they're doing that because they're burning through a lot of matches. 6 watts a kg, 5.6 from Ross. We've got Aaron Bleakley here, the NZ Bro Riders, who's trying to bridge the gap here. Obviously, the Aero Riders won't do any work, but they could just jump on Bleakley's wheel, catch back up. I mean, why are they doing this, Kate?
You're very subtle. I love that about you, Anna. When you hand out any criticism, and I agree to a degree. But what I will say is that having anybody in a breakaway, especially when you're from a team like Mick Gallagher is from, Aero can kind of, to a degree, do a little bit what they want in terms of strategically, but it massively takes the responsibility off your teammates and allows them to sit back and get a little bit of rest. So for HKL and Aero, they are just sitting pretty, and 100% the responsibility is on our big other teams, which at this point are the NZ Bros, the Frodos and the Gandalfs. And you're right, there are two teams there, and they do have different jerseys, so we can differentiate somewhat. And we do thank everybody when they match and have good jerseys. Makes our job a little bit easier. But even the thing with 9 to 10 seconds is they still have to keep it close. They still have to keep that pace up. And because of the sheer
Mm,
numbers of aero as well, if the other teams don't take responsibility, it will just keep going out. So they're just putting pressure on it and opening the opportunity, because you better believe that as soon as this comes back, a counter attack will go. And I think that's the point of what they're trying to do. But, essentially Gallagher, and Ross, you would say they're sacrificial lambs. Now, Ross has so many points at this point that if he can stay in this breakaway until the next intermediate sprint or two, then he'll foreseeably get the most points at the end of the day. And it is a points race. Oh, look at that, actually,
true.
Partridge Madsen has just overtaken him. It looks like, although that doesn't include FTS. So on FAL, yes, but I think with FTS, Ross actually comes back above. So that changes it. For Mick Gallagher, now he doesn't have a lot of points. He's sitting in 10th there. So let's not say 10th is not a lot, but it's still a lot to gain. So he actually has an awful lot to gain, and in that regard, they're actually a very good pairing. They've got different missions and different ambitions. But yeah, this
Mm,
chase, they're going to have to start really heating up. It's going out to 11 seconds. What do we reckon? 15 seconds is normally the magic number. On
yeah.
this course, I reckon that's bang on.
Look what these guys are doing, though. If we look at that chase pack, I think this might be coming out because they're doing a typical slowdown strategy back there. If you see it, the aero team in that chase pack is getting onto the front, quite a few of them, about four, and I think just slowing their watts. And then every time the NZ Bro Riders are having to push up to get past that sort of aero blockade to come up. So, I mean, I know I was a bit blunt before saying, what's the point? But look at this, 12 seconds. These guys are working really well together. They've still got a lot of the race to go, but it's sort of like that chase pack has given up a bit. And when it's given up, oh, you can
Mm.
just see, I just saw the watts there. You saw Parrot get on the front at 5.2, then drop down to 3. So these guys are totally mucking up this
Mm.
chase. And I think that's what's helping this team get sort of 12, 13 seconds now ahead. So, kudos to them. I am actually liking what they're doing. I thought when they're only sort of at 6 seconds, 7 seconds, why would they do that? They're hanging out the front. This is a concerted effort. They're putting in the time, the patience to now get 13 seconds up. And I just saw Parrot do it again, pushed up to 6 watts a kg and then dropped right back down to 3. So if we can get eyes on that chase back, I'd like to see how these guys are actually mucking around in the lead, because you can see there they're just sitting on the front. Look at that, forming a little blockade. Parrot there, now 2.7,
Mm.
3 watts. They're just getting everyone stuck behind them. I love it.
I get the strategy behind that. It is smart bike racing, but I'm such a traditionalist. I think you let people chase if they want to chase, and you kind of get out of the way and let them do their thing and kind of dig their own hole, so to speak. So I'm not actually a huge fan of the old get to the front and slow down. In saying that, I recognise it as a very valid race strategy. Nathan and I had a good chat last week in the absence of Dave Toll, who seems to always be MIA when I'm around. I need to look into that. That might be related in some way. In about tactics, the purported tactics for last week. Let's just look at this because Matt Ross has taken off. Does his avatar have a mullet, Anna? I think he has a
It's got a
mullet.
really cool long he's got a cool style going on there. It's like a skatey boy look, sort of a skateboard helmet, but with hair coming out the sides. As we're seeing a John Story sprinting here for 3rd place with that purple Tron. John Story, the double Olympic rower from New Zealand, so he's got some serious power coming through those quads. No socks though, which I noticed before, which is tragic from John, and I'm gonna have to chat to him later about that. I think it was no socks actually, or maybe it's just they kind of blended into his leg. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not wearing socks. So that's just a
Oh, look,
horrible.
I
Yeah,
maybe
look,
maybe he
it's not even
doesn't.
no socks. It's just tiny socks. It's like wearing running socks on the bike.
Oh,
That
but
is
look at that
it's
calf
almost
definition.
worse. Oh, that looks horrible, John. Absolutely. Just why would you do that? Just if
I
you're
I
going to go
think,
no socks, go no
we
socks.
need
Don't do
to
tiny ankle socks.
I think we need to get our, production team in the background to create a fashion manual, guidelines for the next season, perhaps. You can sign off on it, perhaps, but, the no socks thing, that I don't know, that belongs to triathletes normally, Anna. I mean, I'm
I know,
surprised
not
you have a
rowers.
love for high socks given your background.
We're
Yes,
just seeing
but
actually
let me
Bosted here talking about, oh, sorry, talking about triathletes. Bosted, the retired triathlete, bridged that gap. So that 15-second gap came down very quickly over that sprint. Looks like that chase pack where went all in for points and managed to bridge across, and now only 3 seconds back. So these two, Ross and Gallagher, joined by Bosted, coming up very quickly to the Aqueduct KOM. They're just hitting the lower slopes of it now. Uh, I'm not sure how this play out. I think the chase pack will use this as a time to sort of push up and bridge that gap as these guys are heading into the last 10 kilometers of this race.
Well, I think this is very smart tactics. It's not going to work because the whole pack is going to come back here. But by bridging across in those sprints, it could have given them actually a really good opportunity to nullify another team of chasers. But it looks like Bosted has the advantage leading into this Aqueduct sprint. He's not going to hold it. Partridge Madsen, I'm tripping over my words this evening. He's going for it. He's got quite a lot of points. So we've seen him earn a lot of points in the FAL segments.
Oh,
Will he? He'll
there's
get
Ross
some
again.
again, but Ross again. Good use of power up. Look at that excellent timing of the power up.
Wow.
Simeon Green coming in second there. Story rolling over in third. Bosted ended up rolling over in fourth. A few points there for NZ Bro, but Matt Ross, gee, he's tonight's
Wow.
star, isn't he?
The fact that he could sprint over this climb straight after he had that huge effort off the front, riding about 5 watts a kg. So very impressive there from Ross. Banerjee here showing her class, coming through. Looks like she'll roll through. Nash is chasing fairly hard, but I don't think she can stick with it. Banerjee hitting up to the orange numbers. She'll take this across the line, across the Aqueduct QOM. And looks like it was a hard fought battle there between Jacob and Griffiths from Aero. And hopefully we'll get a little replay of the earlier sprint through the Pave section. Whoa, there's just so many Aero riders there. Just looks like two Rave and about 1,000 Aero riders in this front pack, and they're just coming under this bridge and will hit very quickly this Pave sprint. I'm thinking, looks like Barrow has opened up very early with that breakaway burrito with her teammates
Hmm.
behind her. So that's a bit brutal, bit hard there for Jen P to come through. And looks like Emily Watts maybe come over, but you've also got Rave there, Nash fighting really hard with Watts, but looks like she's sufficed to come second. And Jacob coming in third, it seems, from Team Aero. So great little sprint there. Nash is doing well, but looks like a rider was just dropped off the back through that. So I'm not sure if they looks like Jen P dropped off the best, and also Jay Hewson from Rave. So disappointing from Rave. They're now just down to one rider in that front pack. Looks like Hewson dropped just with the huge power and speed coming through that sprint segment.
I think the big lesson from this evening, Anna, is never drop a burrito with a teammate on your wheel. That's
No,
probably something we should
that's
try and avoid to do. Now we're only getting the FAL here. FTS is off in cloudland at the moment, but Emily Watts is leading on the FAL. It wouldn't surprise me if she was actually also leading with some of those FTS fastest through segment, because we know that she's got a whole heap of speed, really good track rider as well, very handy individual pursuiter. So not just limited to those sprints at all. But looked like she tempered herself pretty well actually over that aqueduct climb. So she is riding a smart race in terms of that overall point gaining strategy, which is something that sometimes is a little bit lost, Anna, when you're just looking at kind of the first couple across the line. Sometimes you lose a little bit of visibility about who's going the fastest through and who's accruing those other minor points. But this is a pretty small bunch now, so not a lot of places to hide. Jen Petnan, who's strong as an ox, she's off the back now. A very clear dominant advantage to Aero. There's only one Rave there, Clara Nash. Now she can hold her own in a sprint, but if Aero decide they want to have a little bit of a dig here and go on some attacks, then, well, I think she has no real option but to kind of sit there and let it go.
And I think the good thing to keep in mind is that there's two Aero teams out here. So even though that there looks like a whole lot of yellow and green jerseys, it's actually two teams. So they will be fighting against each other. And that's maybe what we're seeing here with those burrito breakaway power-ups being dropped sort of in front of teammates, is potentially they're not actually teammates. So there are two Aero teams. As we cross over to the men's race, they're approaching. They'll take this sort of left-hand bend coming up where the road forks, and they'll hit those early slopes of the Petite KOM, the last climb. This is going to get pretty exciting. Are we going to see a solo breakaway? I mean, I'm looking at Ross here to maybe break this away. They obviously got away before with Gallagher and had a great little 1-2 action going off the front. And O'Brien, he did very well on this first climb. He was the one who broke away, was caught just before the end. Was that a little test of strategy? Was that sort of how far do I have to get in front for people not to catch me on the down? Keeping in mind this is a reduced bunch. So nice little visual there of this team approaching these 3% slopes. It is draftable here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this group staying together. When they hit those switchbacks, it really starts to kick up to those high elevation percentages. And that's, I think, where we'll see the magic happen.
The magic. I want to see the magic happen. There's anything that kicks over I reckon about 1% is so draftable in Zwift, much more so than IRL. And if you get a good wheel where they're not actually varying power too much, it can be a very, very smooth ride. So that is always good to kind of identify somebody in there who has fairly consistent power in their climbing profile, understanding that, you tend to have the climbers like Mark O'Brien. He's off on the move
there
again.
he goes. I saw that.
4 watts per kg only uphill, please. Good luck, Joey.
Yeah, right.
In dictating that. Joey's got a bit of CBF tonight. He wants everybody to have a coffee ride. Mark O'Brien.
And look at those world elite
Mm.
Zwifters chasing him down. There's 2 of them now. You can see Pesquet and Hoare there in the black and red kits just bridged that gap. They knew that was coming. As soon as O'Brien hit those orange numbers, Pesquet there, put in a huge turn of pace to catch back on. And now those 2 at the front, Hoare and Pesquet, will work together, I think, to make sure that they stay with this main pack, they keep the pace high, and they don't let O'Brien attack over the top again. They're just going to make everybody suffer. And look at that. That is stringing the pack out. There's a little group at the back there. They'll catch on a downhill if that group stays together and this gap doesn't get too big. But wow, serious watts here, 417. His heart rate is 192. Phenomenal.
Well, look, I'm going to call him Joe Pesci because he reminds me of, the actor, the Academy Award-winning actor. And I like to rename people when we don't have their full names. So I've got a few actors out there this evening. When you do have climbers who do have quite a dynamic climbing profile, you don't have to worry about the 1, 2, 3 second gaps because they can accelerate and really kind of duck across to it. Some of the more pure climbers tend to be able to climb like a diesel all day, but that acceleration can be quite hard. On these climbs, we know that he's just such a dynamic climber, and he appears to be, quite into. He's a little bit masochistic, if I can say. He really likes to bury himself and make everybody else struggle too.
How old is Mark O'Brien? Because that heart rate is like dangerously high, unless he's 14 years old.
He's younger than me. I'd say he's early 30s from memory.
Okay, That's maybe too high. It's not changing too much, so it might have just wigged out a little bit. But wow, there's no doubting he is putting in huge effort. 6 seconds now on Hoare. Gallagher, though, chasing down. So Gallagher, a teammate of O'Brien, he's trying to bridge across maybe, or he's playing the like you called it before, a bit of a negative tactics there by slowing down that group behind. Looks like he is getting on front and then slowing them down. O'Brien, he will get first across line for sure. He probably had fastest time segment from the earlier lap. Gallagher there, just getting in front of Hoare. I think this group will come together slightly. It's sort of a little group there of about 4 riders that may just be able to catch them on the downhill if they've got some anvils. And then whoever's got that drafting power up, they might just keep that in their back pocket for the sprint at the end. But O'Brien, 8 seconds, not sure he's going to be able to stay away.
Oh, I mean, this is a really good move. So he's 34 years of age, not 14, but you had the 4 right. That heart rate might be a
Good.
little bit off. But he is, I don't know, 218. It is possible. But he's certainly leaving it all out there, and he could probably stay away. What have they got? 11
Mm.
seconds he's opening up. Now, it's incumbent on these 4 to work really well together. They're
And
essentially
who's got an
down to
anvil?
3. Well, but if you dropped an anvil, Anna, that might mean you go solo,
Oh,
which
O'Brien's got an
oh,
anvil.
he
Oh,
does.
oof.
Plot
I'm not sure if
twist.
that chase pack now 10 seconds behind. If anyone in that group has an anvil, that'll increase the speed of the whole pack. And then if any riders in there have a draft, they'll be able to over sprint and get ahead of O'Brien here, who's dropped that power up. 10 seconds, I'm not sure. He's riding 65k now. They've got anvils in this group as well. I'm seeing
Ooh.
3 anvils being dropped. So someone else, one rider in this pack has not dropped a power up, and that means they've probably got a draft and they'll use it at the end. Not sure who that could be. Maybe Hoare there from World Elite Zwifters. Um, and more anvils here. This chase pack is going to have a huge amount of speed just with how many riders there are, and they've got the riders in front in sight. 5 seconds behind that second pack on the road, and then that pack is about, I would say now, 8 seconds behind O'Brien. Not sure what will happen at that meso. It's very exciting, but we'll cut over very quickly to the legend herself, Justine Barrow. Like O'Brien, huge attack, has pushed away. No doubt, I think she could take this all the way to the line. 18 seconds now.
This is a very impressive ride. I've seen her do this IRL at the National Road Championships on Mount Buninyong, which, look, is my least favourite course in the world. I can very clearly define that in a national championships. It would suit her exceptionally well, this course. It is the leg breaker, as you say. That's the name of the ride when translated from French. She's got a pretty solid gap here. I mean, 15 seconds, but the problem is there's no compact chasing group. They're kind of in ones or twos. It looks like a few of them are coming together, but only coming together means they're not working very consistently yet together. A bit of time will tell whether they can. Now, Barrow doesn't appear to have an anvil. I would have thought she would have dropped it already if she did. Oh, I was about to say she's got a power tuck, but down she goes. Now we'll duck over to the men. Things are getting a little bit crackers over here. Anna Mark O'Brien, he
Oh,
has
I
kept
think he
that
could take
10
this.
seconds.
Yeah,
This is going to be
yeah. He's
pretty
10
tight.
seconds
He's not
ahead.
far
This
from the
this
finish.
pack This big pack has caught the
Ooh.
chase, though, so I do believe this will be the race for second. Although we are seeing a big attack there coming from some of the NZ Bro riders, one of the Gandalf riders, and John Story, the Frodo rider. But 9 seconds, I think O'Brien. Oh, 9. How much is it going to cut down? Do they have him in sight? I think they do. So they're going to see him there. They're going to start pushing very hard. This is where they need to get a team and someone, a sacrificial rider. NZ Bro need to get someone on the front to just push pace really hard and break it. He's right there. They see him under the bridge. I actually don't think they're going to manage to get ahead because I've seen now O'Brien's turn of pace and he is riding so hard. 7 watts a kg. Look at that angle. It's like a little shark hunting him down. But Kate, I reckon he's got it.
I reckon he's got this too. And I hit
Look at
mute.
Story.
This is Do you remember what happened last week though, Anna? It was, like, so perfectly timed that the breakaway, still featured in the top
Oh, he's got
5.
it.
I don't think it's gonna happen this week. Great
Yeah, that
ride
is,
from Mark O'Brien.
yeah, most
And if
aggressive
that
rider,
heart
rider of
rate
the
is
day.
real, somebody, Tully, let us know if Marco's just got an incredibly high
Oh,
heart rate.
there was the Alien Ink Rider
Ooh.
in second there, it looked like. Oh, we might have to see a replay of that finish, the race for second, because that got very tight on the end. But Mark O'Brien, unbelievable. Hopefully, we're seeing a little replay a bit later of that men's chase pack finish. But Justine Barrow, similar to Mark O'Brien, what are you doing over there, Tully? You've got some amazing riders with breakaway capabilities. I can see he's tuned into the stream, so yeah, give us your secrets. How are you getting these riders to break away so well? 14 seconds there for the riders behind. And I believe as well she will take this all the way to the line. That chase pack is too small, a lot smaller than the men's one.
Mm.
So great job,
Really,
Justine
really
Barrow.
good
That would be the
strategy.
rider of the
Mm.
night in the women's race as well. I'm loving this era.
They did
Very aggressive.
same, didn't they? They did a really good job. It looks like Matt Ross, I think, he got across for 3rd, which estimations puts him way above anybody on the points classification overall. He had a really consistent day. Just seen Barrow in the women emulating. Oh, look at that. Mark O'Brien
That's
coaches
funny.
Justine Barrow. Well, there you
Well, there
go.
we go. That's it.
um,
Wow.
we can probably see where the tactics come from there. But she's done perfectly. Like, she's done a very similar ride to Mark. Probably the difference is that the men have a slightly deeper field and in which to. So for Justine, to have ridden away, she doesn't have a lot of people able to catch her because they've blown them apart. And Watts is struggling a bit tonight. Jen Pettinan is off the back. It's a very small chasing group, a couple of which are her teammates. Poor Clara Nash is terribly outnumbered for Rave, but Rave have been fantastic today. Um, Absolute kudos to them for turning up every week and making this a pretty competitive league. But Justine Barrow, sensational ride from her and perfectly timed attack on that final climb.
Yeah, look at it. So great job, Justine Barry. But look at it opening up behind Banerjee off the front. And there we have Nash. I think she'll be so motivated to take this second place because, oh, she's going to get rolled though by Jacob, maybe. Oh,
Oh,
she might have got it. It was very tight, but that is
oh.
great work. It's never a nice position being the only person from your team surrounded by another team. But she took it to them. She used her last little ounce of energy. She squeezed it into her legs and hopefully maybe took that second place. We'll have a look here in the replay. It was very tight. She got a little good kick there. She kind of got here. She sat down a bit, so not sure what happened. Jacob then came through. Unfortunately, I do think Jacob might have got it. In my opinion, we'll see what the angle looks like. Oh, it looks there like Nash by about a tire width, but we'll have to check that out. Great riding though from Justine Barry taking out the win in that A category race. And Aero definitely taking out the team win tonight. I don't think I have to see the sort of points later. I think it's pretty obvious that Aero has been absolutely dominant. And here is the men's replay that I
So
did want to
let's.
see just with this chase pack. Alien Battlers coming through, and someone from
Ooh.
Zed's Sun, and then an Aero Rider. So Torben there coming in fourth with that draft power up. But yeah, good to see the sort of the minor teams, Alien Inc. and Zed Sun, for second, third.
Yeah, I mean, Era did a fantastic job, but that was a great sprint at the end of it. And, Anna, I think that each week so far has been a really different experience for all of the races. But what is becoming really clear is this incredible outfit that Aero have, because, yes, they've been dominant in an overall fashion. But more than that, I feel like their strategy is really evolving and they're making it quite interesting. Now it's not all about Mark O'Brien attacking the first couple of weeks with that. Now, he did that again today. He was first over the line at the end today. But Matt Ross, he was a massive sensation
Mm.
throughout it all. Mick Gallagher had a great race. Like, there's nobody, we can't say, even though the points table may say differently, we can't say anybody's absolutely dominating so far. It's such an interesting racing league.
Yeah, and then it's good going back later and seeing how the points went out because the sort of the quiet achievers are the ones going for the fastest time segments because they may not cross the line first. We may not even talk about them, but they've come through from the back of the pack. They may finish mid pack. They're getting huge amounts of points for those time segments. So, Aero, they're probably doing really well there too because we talked about maybe three of their riders. They had another three in that main pack. And I believe they're probably going for those time segments. Tully, doing a great job with this Aero outfit, both in the men and the women. Very dominant performance tonight.
And I love the anvil. I love the burrito. I love all these different power ups that are coming into play, and seeing how people use them in a really good way, seeing how people are also experimenting with them. I mean, we had a good debate about where you might potentially use it. I know that if I get one, I'm going to have a bit of a go and see how it works. We'll take a look at those overall standings when we can, because we are now 4 weeks in. So we can take a look at that. There are another 4 to go, so we're now at that halfway mark. Of course, there is a team's time trial left amongst all of the points racing to come. So I think that when we get the results, we'll start to get a bit of a feel of who's who in the zoo. So let's take a look at the results from tonight. Anna, I'll hand over to you for this for the A's.
Yeah, so the A's there, like we've already talked about a lot. Mark O'Brien, well done. Very, very good performance tonight. We've got Richard Law in second. So that was the Ink Alien Battler rider. Didn't talk about him at all. That was phenomenal. But actually, the Aero rider Torben was third, even though it looked like the Smooth As Sun rider Simeon was in third, but he was actually fourth. Matt Ross from Aero in fifth, Trent Stevenson in sixth, John Story, the Olympic rower there from NZ Bro Frodo, Mike Bosted, his teammate, in eighth, Shannon Scott in ninth, and Michael Gallagher, who we talked about a bit, he was in 10th.
Right, let's see if the bees have just finished, so we'll get the results as they come through and when we can. But it is a long day today, and so sometimes there are a few gaps between the leaders. But look at this, Jeff Morton has taken that out, WMZ Bees. Stephen Hands in second, NZ Bro, JIR Tolkien. They are really mixing up those Hobbit references, those Lord of the Ring references, Anna.
Yes,
Michael
yes.
Templeton from the Dirty Sprockets in third, Lu Yan from Innsbruck Ringers in fourth, Brett Gibson, AHDR Barracudas in fifth, Ed Gray from the Dirty Sprockets in sixth. In seventh, we've got Dwayne Hess from WMZ Bees. In eighth, we've got Sean Blackie from the NZ Bro, JRR Tolkien. In ninth, Annie Simmons. Go, Annie. We know that this is not just men's, but it's a mixed division from WMZ Bumble. Stuart Sayer in 10th from NZ Bro as well. So we'll take a little look at the replay to have a look at of this finish, because it looks pretty tight based on those results sheet. So we will bring that in. But yeah, that's a tight sprint there. Less than a second between that top 8. Anna, looks like a bit of a big bunch kick, so we'll take a look at that now.
Oh, there we go. I'm very impressed with this Annie rider from WMZ. Whoa, she went out early. Obviously got caught, but she finished very well in this BCAT racing. Big turn of pace there from Gibson. And then Gray from the Dirty Sprockets. And Templeton also coming across. Whoa, that is a close finish there. Templeton and Morton Racing. Wow, that is a great finish from that B category. Love it. I love tight racing like that.
Yeah, that is a tight sprint. Now let's take a look at the women's results. Anna, a great ride from Justine Barrow in the A's. Let's see who filled out that top 10 because there were a few gaps, weren't there? So here you go. I'll hand over to you for this one.
Lisa Jacob in second from Aero as well. Rave All Night, Clara Nash. Great result, but she actually got third. We thought that was a little bit tight there at the end. Katie Banerjee in fourth. And then this is where we see the different Aero teams. So Susie Wood was from the Aero Flyers, with Miranda Griffiths also from the Aero Flyers. So that's different from Aero 1. Elaine Smith and Emily Watts, 7th and 8th for Aero 1. And Jenny Pattanon for the Flyers in 9th. And Jess Hewson, who raves all night, apparently, was in 10th.
Indeed. You had a lot of fun saying a real rave party or whatever line you had tonight. That was a bit of a consistent one. The women's bees, please head to WTRL .racing to take a look at all of these results because they aren't through yet. They are starting to come through. Anna, we're up for week 5 next week. It's a little bit shorter than this week. What can we expect, do you think, after this week?
Next week would be one for the sprinters. Absolutely. It's on a great course, actually, a new one to Zwift that's similar to one we had on Macquarie Islands, is that people don't know it very well. So that's what I like about it. People maybe don't know quite how to approach it. They haven't raced it a gazillion times before. There's a lot of sprint points up for grabs. So yeah, if you're a sprinter, get out there. If you're a climber, maybe take the week off and you'll be hitting the Yorkshire climbs a week after that. But yeah, it's there'll be high heart rates, lots of power next week.
Well, if you can get any higher than Mark O'Brien's heart rate tonight, I think that's a season record. Thank you to everybody who has joined us tonight. There was Premier League that you can reflect back on that's already raced. We've got a ton more racing over the different geographies if you want to tune in overnight or tomorrow during the day. Otherwise, we'll see you same time, same place next week.